Okay. Welcome everybody to Beyond Sight, navigating the world through sound and innovation. I'm Dylan Fox, Director of Operations for XR Access. I am a white man with short black hair and beard wearing an XR Access t-shirt with an XR Access background, so you can really know who I am. Um, I am here today with Jason Way and Chanel Matos from Discover Live, who are going to give us a really exciting presentation, I think, on how they make virtual tours and world exploration accessible to people in the blind and low vision community. Jason is the founder and CEO of Discover Live. He is a seasoned executive with 20 more years of driving growth across Fortune 500 companies and startups, with specialties in strategic planning, product market fit, and technology transformation, spanning consumer goods, digital services, smart devices, and even medical cannabis, while delivering innovative and accessible solutions. Meanwhile, Chanel is the outreach and engagement coordinator for Discover Live special programs and an assistive technology specialist, leveraging lived experience as a blind individual to empower independence through technology, outreach, and advocacy. So I am really looking forward to today's presentation. I hope you all are as well. Please feel free to ask questions either in chat or through the Q&A, as we'll have some time for that in the end. And with that, Jason and Chanel, please take it away.
All right. Thank you, Dylan and XR Access for having us here. And for all attendees, thank you for joining us today as well. So let me just start to share my first slide here. Just want to make sure that you guys can see it. You guys can see this, right, Dylan?
Yep. You might
All
want to
right.
full screen it.
Okay. Let me see here. How do I full screen this?
I think if you hover over the slide in the bottom left corner, there should be the option to, yeah, if you hit the three buttons and then uh, enter
Okay.
full screen.
Yeah. Just let me do this first. Okay. I want to make sure I turn on the caption first. And then I'm gonna do the full screen.
Awesome. And we should have captions through Zoom as well.
Okay. All right, just give me 1 minute. Just give me 1 minute, okay? Actually, you know what? Let me just share the way how it was just now because that is the way. Just give me 1 minute here.
Yeah, no problem. And if anyone has any accessibility needs that aren't being met, definitely feel free to put them in chat or send a message on Slack, and we will do our best to remediate.
Yeah, Dylan, if it's okay, I'm just gonna leave it the way it was
Yeah,
before.
that should be fine.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Getting back to the first paging here, and let me just turn on the caption here. All right, you can see the caption here. Hopefully, it's gonna come out automatically as well. So as Dylan mentioned, my name is Jason. I'm a middle-aged, middle-built Asian man with short black hair. Although you'll probably notice I have some gray hair around my sideburn area. I'm definitely getting old. I wear a pair of glasses with a rectangular shaped lens and a black frame today. I'm also wearing a white t-shirt with a big Discover Live logo on it. Before we start, I'd like you all to actually close your eyes. I want to close your eyes. I want you to imagine standing in the heart of Tokyo's Shibuya crossing. Now, for those of you who don't know, Shibuya crossing, it's the world's busiest pedestrian crossing where people crossing all directions simultaneously when the traffic stops. Now, I want you to imagine you're in the middle of this crossing, surrounded by the towering buildings in Tokyo and the big neon signs in all the colors. I want you to feel the energy of thousands of people around you, from your left, from your right, front, and back. You're hearing the city's symphony, the gentle chimes from the traffic signals, those dee da, dee da, dee da type of noise coming from the signals to tell people how much time they still have left before the crossing actually ends. You're hearing the busy, fast walking footsteps around you and the hum of conversations in many, many, many languages. That is Tokyo. Now, I want you to imagine experiencing all this, not with your eyes, but through your ears, spatial awareness, and vivid description. And this is the world we are creating at Discover Life, a world where exploration truly knows no boundaries. So I want to begin our journey today by asking ourselves what it truly means to experience the world beyond the sight. So as we explore this concept today, I want to first share our mission and the core values that drive Discover Life. The fundamental belief that shapes everything that what we do at Discover Life is that world exploration is a fundamental human rights, not a privilege determined by physical ability or financial ability. That's what we believe in. We believe the desire to discover, learn, and connect is a universal human desire that should be accessible to everyone, regardless of their circumstances. It just comes with us at the time we were born, as part of us. Our world exploration is rooted in multi-sensory experiences, going beyond just the visual cues to engage sound, space, and description. And our commitment is to create this world exploration experience that invite everybody in, regardless of their ability. In general, as a company, we align our work with global accessibility standards, but ultimately, our goal is to foster community and belonging through shared exploration, where every one participant feels seen, heard, and valued. Now, you heard about our mission, the core value of Discover Life. I want to take a step back and tell you a little bit about who we are at Discover Life. So our company was founded in 2017 with a mission to make world exploration accessible to all. Very simple vision, a very simple mission. So we have been pioneering the live virtual travel experiences to over 200 destinations on 6 continents. So far, as of today, we have taken more than 340,000 people who might otherwise be unable to travel to explore the world together with us. Our team includes our own team members and also hundreds of professionally trained local tour guides with their specialties in history, culture, and accessibility. And we're not just a virtual travel company. That's a lot of people call us. We're actually see ourselves as the innovators in accessible exploration. People so far who have benefited from our experiences, including many senior living communities and many residents living in senior living communities, mobility challenged individuals, hard of hearing, and blind and low vision community members. So now, our dedication, as a team in the accessible tourism side. Let me introduce a crucial member of our team, whose expertise has really shaped our approach. And you heard about her name, Chanel Meadows. I'm so honored to actually, doing this presentation together with her. Chanel is our outreach and engagement coordinator for special programs. She brings very invaluable lived experiences as a member of the blind and low vision community herself. And she's also an assistive technology specialist that helped us a lot, tremendously, during our process. At a little bit later time, Chanel will share her insights on the transformative impact our tours have on other participants' lives and why live experience and community engagements are vital. But before we do that, I'd like to talk a little bit about our journey, how our journey began, and the challenges we faced in making exploration accessible in the early days. About 8 years ago, Discover Live began with a vision to democratize world travel using virtual reality. Yes, you heard it right. Virtual reality. It was VR. We believed at that time that VR would be the ultimate equalizer. We think it's the solution for solving everything that we were facing at the time, what we wanted to accomplish. But very quickly, we saw the limitations. The mainstream VR platforms at that time remain largely inaccessible to the disability communities, especially for the blind and low vision users. Although, even in recent years, I'm so glad to see the advancements like AI-driven scene descriptions and spatial audios, but many platforms, even as of today, still lack the fundamental accessibility from both the technology and the cost standpoint for many people in the world. So earlier on, realize this reality, we chose to adapt our values to serve people immediately, prioritize the usability over waiting for future tech to be ready. We knew at some point the technology will be ready, but do we want to wait, or we see the needs out there, whether we want to start getting into it? So this very strategic pivot was a moral imperative and it shaped our philosophy, which is true accessibility means meeting people where they are. So let me explain a little bit more about that. So as I mentioned, our early efforts focus on making world exploration accessible via VR, but we realized the technology wasn't ready, right, to fulfilling whatever the mission that we want to accomplish. So instead, we needed to embrace platforms that people already use and trust. So at that time, we looked for platforms that generally provide universal access. For example, the platforms that provide screen reader compatibility, the platforms that provide keyboard navigation, and the platforms that actually people are familiar with, right? So that people don't have to be stressed out to learn something totally new. And we also needed the captions on the platform, so for the people who have hearing challenges, they can use those. So many platforms, we look at many different platforms, and but most importantly, the platform that we were looking for at that time needed to really allow us to bring people together regardless of their location and technical expertise. And we finally picked Zoom. And the one thing that we learned through this process is that the most sophisticated technology isn't always the most inclusive. So at this moment, I would assume like a lot of people in here in the audience have used the Zoom, but you probably ask, why Zoom? Why Zoom at that time in the early days? Because by choosing Zoom, there are a lot of benefits that we can get. Very first of all, Zoom allows us to remove the barriers of expensive equipment and a complex setup. I remember, when we were in the early days when we were doing the VR tours, we actually spent more people explaining to people or troubleshooting the goggle use than actually have them to enjoy the tour experience. So the setup has to be as easy as possible, and the equipment has to be affordable and available, accessible to a lot of people. And the people from rural like Montana, for example, to downtown Manhattan, right? They can all join the tours, the same tour, with just a device and an internet connection. And Zoom's also, its built-in features allow us to serve a wide range of accessibility needs. I mentioned about the screen reader support. I mentioned about the captioning, and even the low bandwidth options. Yes, the people who have 4G, they don't necessarily only have always have to have 5G internet in order to take our tours. The people who have 4G access, they can take the tour experience as well. So this approach democratized the access, making it very possible for anyone to participate and connect through a shared exploration experience, and it created this whole immediate impact for the community. So by utilizing Zoom's built-in, all those built-in accessible features, and lately its AI-powered translation function, we actually welcomed participants from all corners of the globe to take the same tour together. This is never going to be able to do to be able to accomplish, even if you just do a traditional in-person physical tour. So technology has really opened up a lot of different things for us. Our mission is very simple: make world exploration accessible to all. So people are happier, smarter, healthier, and most importantly, kinder towards each other. I mean, those are all those benefits for the people in the audience here that who have been traveling a lot. You realize those benefits. You know, all over the world, only 6% of the population get to enjoy those. We want to make sure this world exploration and its benefits are accessible to as many people as possible. And we have continuous survey results to substantiate each one of those benefits brought by the live virtual world exploration experience by Discover Life. Now, you have heard about a mission, and you know that in our world, accessibility isn't just an add-on. It's really the bedrock of our mission, right? It's built into our mission. So when we design for people at the margins, we wanted to make sure that we create richer and more engaging experiences for them. And with this in mind, I want to take a deep dive into one of our most exciting offers, which is the core of this presentation, which is live audio described tours. So what is a live audio described tours? Those tours are live, virtual, on-location experiences, but enhanced with rich auditory descriptions. So we paint vivid pictures with words. We engage multiple senses that include authentic soundscape, spatial and size context, especially related to dimensions or space, right? Culture immersion, history stories. So we tell a lot of those, and sensory details like texture, temperature, smell, and the taste. Those are all important for our live audio described tours that we don't usually incorporate those into our just regular virtual tours for the sighted audience. So let me just give you an example. If you're taking a tour to Marrakesh, Medina in Morocco, you would hear metal work because there are a lot of metal shops in that area. You would hear the call to prayer from the mosques. You would also sense the scents of the mint tea and the orange blossoms described in vivid detail for all the participants by our tour guides. In addition, as soon as someone books our tour, they will immediately receive what we call a pre-trip kit, which includes overviews of the destination, overviews of the tour, a brief introduction of our tour guides so that they know who will be giving the tours to them, authentic recipes, of the most popular local food and a drink, like couscous in Morocco. And usually we got those recipes from our tour guides, like our grandparents, as authentic as it can be. And the audience, when they book the tours, they also immediately receive the links to online stores where they can purchase local artifacts or cultural souvenirs, no matter if it's, in the Morocco example, no matter if it's Moroccan lanterns, right, for example, or their carpets, the texture of their carpets, or, we're talking about in some other places, like in Algeria, we would have the links for people to purchase a desert rose, which is not something that most people have seen before, but it's very popular in Nigeria. And we have links for people to do that. Or, if we're visiting New York City, we would have links for people to purchase the Statue of Liberty, because those are all the things that our tour guides actually talk during the tour, and we want people to be able to feel them, to be able to touch them, and while listening to the descriptions of the shapes and everything, or the feel of those artifacts. So during our audio described tours, aside from the rich sound and the description, we also give people the option to get a much more immersive experience through smell, taste, and the touch. So now you got a general sense of, what is our live audio described tour look like. But here I would like to play an 8-minute recording from a 60-minute live audio described tours that we did during the holiday time in London last year. So let me just play this one for you so you can all hear it.
Now, at the bottom of the staircase is a beautiful Christmas tree. It's about 3 or 4 stories tall, and it's always a gift from the people of Norway, thanking the people of Britain for their help during World War II. It's got white lights all over it, and all these lights are vertical, so they make vertical lines going all the way up to the top of the tree with a golden star at the tip top. Now, you might hear somebody giving an announcement, and this is a group of children in front of the tree, and it sounds like they're going to start singing a Christmas carol. So I'm going to get a little bit closer and see if you can hear some of their music. Yeah, they are going to start. We got kids about the age of about 8, and they're all in their festive clothes. I see a boy in his Santa hat. Oh, here they go. Some We Three Kings. I love it. They all have little hand bells in their hands making some music there. Now, I'm just walking to the left of the Christmas tree, and in a kind of this large glass box is a nativity scene. So we've got a little baby on a block in the center, and there's hay all around on the inside. And of course, you've got Mary at the baby's feet, and Joseph is reclining next to the baby on his side, and he's resting his head in his hand. And to the back and to the left are those 3 wise men bringing their gold and frankincense and myrrh. And just above, looking at the scene from the sky, actually hanging from the top of the shed, is it looks like a female angel in a pink dress holding a trumpet looking over the scene. And then, of course, we have some shepherds with sheep and a donkey. So we got all the characters here, the nativity scene just next to the Christmas tree, and then the lovely Christmas carols as well. Quite the festive scene here in Trafalgar Square. Now, I don't know if you can hear and discern, there's fountains that I'm walking past next. I'm pretty much right in the center of the square, and there's 2 fountains, one on either side of me. They shoot up into the air, probably, 3 stories into the air. And when the water comes back down, it falls into this basin, like a footed bowl, if you will. And then the water cascades over the sides of the footed bowl into another larger basin or a pool. And then the water again cascades out of that basin into a huge pool of water that people are standing around now. There's a little girl getting close to the edge there, trying to check out the water. And then closest to me is a sea creature sculpture, and it's this mermaid, because I can see she's got a fish's tail instead of feet. And then all around her are different fish swimming around, and in both of her arms on either side is a dolphin, and out of each of those dolphins' mouths is coming another fountain, water coming out into the large pool there. Now, as I'm getting to the other side of Trafalgar Square, there is a massive column shooting up into the sky all by itself. It's got vertical stripes going all the way to the top, and at the top it's got those acanthus leaves of a Corinthian column. Now, closest to me at the bottom, at the four corners, are four massive bronze lions. They're laying down, so they're fairly comfortable. They've got their tails wrapped around their legs and the back, and their mouths are open. I can see their fangs. And a father's just lifted a little girl to the paws of the lion for a photo, and she looks quite small next to these massive bronze lions. So just back to the column, though, at the tip top of the column is a gentleman. He is a sailor. He is the person who fought at the Battle of Trafalgar and defeated Napoleon at sea with the British Navy, and that, of course, is Lord Admiral Nelson. He's standing at the top there, and he is in his huge naval uniform with massive rounded hat, and he's got one hand resting on a sword. It almost looks like it's a cane, but it's
Okay, so I'm just going to stop here. I know I talked about 8 minutes. This is about 5 minutes in, but I just hopefully that it gives you a sense of what our audio describer tour look like. I know we're not away. I know myself we're way not ready for winter yet, but I hope this experience briefly took you back to the magical and cherished holiday season in 2024, but this time in London. So now you get a big sense, right? Basic sense of our tours, audio described tours. But what makes them truly transformative? And I want to break down, this down into the technical side and the narrative side of the artistry behind our tours. First of all of our tour guides needs to be a local licensed tour guide first. We want to make sure that they have the necessary knowledge and necessary expertise, especially on the history, the culture, the food, the locals, and the customs, and things like that. Then they will need to be certified by us as a Discover Live qualified virtual tour guide, because tour guiding with a group of people surrounding you, physically surrounding you, and the tour guiding with a group of people from all over the world that you don't necessarily see, the skill sets are very different. Only after they get certified by us as a qualified virtual tour guide, they're allowed to undergo a more specialized training for live virtual audio described tours, mainly focusing on the audio description, the culture sensitivity, and the interactive facilitation. And our training techniques include, the vivid and specific language, strategic pacing of the speech, contextual layering, and matching the emotional tone to the environment. If we were to give a tour in the Vietnam Memorial in DC, the tone will be very different than if we would take a group of people to the holiday market in Germany, for example. And our training and method covers, topics related to the sensitivity, the precision, cultural competency, tech integration, because the technology that we use for the audio described tours is slightly different than the regular virtual tours. And obviously, we use regular feedback from the blind and low vision community to give the feedback. After each one of our tours, we send out a survey to our audiences, and they tell us, what we did good, what we did well, and what are some of the things that we need to improve. And we build all of those feedback back into our training menu, and also the individual feedback to all the tour guides. So as you can see, the training of our tour guide is a continual process. I do want to mention that 95% of our tours are all happening live in real time. So that's why we call it Discover Live instead of Discover pre-recorded, for example. So let's talk a little bit more about the irreplaceable human connection that our tour guides create. So the live guides brings spontaneous engagements, emotional intelligence, the cultural context, and the personal connection. That's the most important thing the live guides brings. They respond to unexpected moments, right? No matter if it's the street performance, like what we heard about the little kids singing in the London tour, or The opera singers that in, most of the squares in Spain, for example, all of a sudden, the audience interest changes. I cannot tell you how many times when we're visiting Paris, and when our audience see or know, there is a pastry shop 50 feet on the left in the front. A lot of the audience will be saying, like asking our tour guide, can we all go there and check it out and see what's on the shelf? And we take a poll. If most people say yes, we're all going there. Those are all those kind of things that is not part of the standard itinerary. And that's the big difference between the live virtual tours compared to you're just watching a travel documentary, right? Because that creates this live guides creates genuine global community feeling amongst all the participants. And also, unlike any of the pre-recorded content, live guides answer questions in real time. There's a lot of interactions, and they adapt descriptions to individual interests and facilitate meaningful group discussions. This is especially interesting when we're visiting some of the tours that has specific um, topics. For example, if we would have a world's most beautiful garden tour, or the best beach tour, or the foodie tour, or like we have the heritage tours where most of our audiences, their ancestors are from the similar region and location. The group discussion usually is very, very vibrant. And our life guides don't just narrate, they build relationships and foster community. That's the most important thing that they do. So these are all the benefits Live Guides brings to our virtual travel experiences. And I'd like to have Chanel now to join us to share her perspectives on what these experiences mean to participants and how they're like transforming her own relationship with travel and exploration. And Chanel will also discuss, some of her personal experiences with, our tours, the community feedback, and her vision for the future of inclusive exploration. So Chanel, please feel free to unmute yourself and join us.
Thank you, Jay. Hello, everyone. As Jay mentioned, my name is Chanel, and I am blind. So, a little self-description here quickly. I am white and Japanese, so I do have the traditionally slanted eyes with their bright blue. Well, actually, I have one blue and one green eye. My right eye actually has a stretched pupil, so it looks like a cat eye. And I have very pale white skin with dark brown hair that I currently have braided to the side. I'm wearing a dark green button-up blouse, and that's pretty much me. So the real interesting thing here is that for most of us in the low vision community, there's a lot of barriers that comes to travel. Everything from how do we get there? Can we afford it? Will someone go with us? But then there's also, is it safe? Is there a point? Can I actually engage with that space? So the nice thing about audio described tours is that for the most part, the majority of those, if not all of those issues, are taken away. And suddenly the world opens up. So because we have these guides that like Jay mentioned, are highly trained and specifically trained with the low vision in mind, the audio description is not just some generic, oh, it's pink, which, okay, great, it's pink. But we get to know more details. For example, I went on the tour that we did that Jay mentioned for the Vietnam Memorial. And before I lost my vision, I had seen some photos of it in passing, but I never got to see any of the details. So to me, it was just a giant wall that had a lot of sentimental value to it. And I respected its purpose, but I didn't really have any connection to it. And I went on that tour, and the guide went step by step explaining the way the names were etched and what each symbol meant and why they were placed where they were placed, and described the wall and the artist's intent behind the shape and structure of it, and talking about the people that were there and the the statues and what those statues were specifically representing in relation to the wall. And suddenly it wasn't just a wall, it was a place, it was a space that meant something to me. And so that's what makes this beautiful for people with low vision. It also opens up spaces that I ordinarily would never get to go to. For example, there are museums and uh, temples and uh, landmarks that I'll never be able to feel the entire Big Ben. Let's be honest. No matter how much I want to know what the Big Ben feels like, I'm never going to be able to walk up to the Big Ben and touch it from the bottom to the top and know everything about it. But that's what makes the add-ons, the optional add-ons that Jay mentioned, where you can buy like the little souvenirs, or but it also that's what makes the audio description so amazing, is they paint it in such a way that I don't really feel like I always have to touch it because they've described it in such a way I already mentally feel it. So that's what makes it really, really amazing. And we've had so many people who've come and talked to us and told us, I never thought I would ever get to go to London because I just can't afford it and travel's really not in my future. Or I never thought I would get to go to Mexico City and my family is from there and it was so amazing to get to learn more about some place that my ancestors were from. And they thought they would never get to experience that for themselves because nobody would ever travel with them and they're or they didn't have people that they felt confident would be able to describe the space to them. Because have you ever tried describing something? And I mean truly describing it. For example, if I asked you right now what shade of green I'm wearing, I bet you I'd get five different answers. Because the reality is, not everyone has that skill set. And that's one of the most wonderful things about what audio description has done. The guides are trained to know how to describe in a way that provides meaningful and rich information from a low vision perspective. And like Jay said, they are real time. So I can stop them right there in the moment and say, hey, what is it that you're referring to? I don't understand. Or exactly how big is that? And they will tell me this information. The nice part too is that they're constantly evolving and growing from this experience. So one time you might take this tour, they got some feedback or you asked a question that made them question how they describe something. And I guarantee you the next time you take that same tour, that same guide will have changed something in their vocabulary because they understood something was missing from our perspective, which is absolutely amazing. And so, with that in mind, I'd also say, it's a multisensory experience. When you are thinking about how you experience the world, as a sighted person, there's a lot of information you're taking in all at once. You're taking on all the visuals, you're taking in all the sounds, the smells, you're using all of your senses. As a low vision person, we have that whole visual aspect missing. Or for those of us who do have some sight, our visual perception of a single space is very different than yours. We may be missing aspects of it. The colors may be different. Um, it may have a very different feel or reaction to that space because of how we visually interact with it. So the nice part is that with the audio description, it levels that playing field. And then because we have access to the recipes and the things like that that we can prepare on our own if we wanted to, or if you're not comfortable preparing things, asking someone else to do it for you if you really want to. Um, but the point is that you have this way to really become immersed in the space and feel like you're there. It stops becoming about access and starts becoming about equity. Starts becoming about my independence and my ability to immerse myself in the same world and explore the world, have the same joy of discovery and have the same experiences that everyone else has the same access to. But also, on top of all that, it also means that I'm no longer beholden. I'm no longer required to think, can I go there because is there someone who can do it? Is it accessible to me? Am I allowed to touch things? Is it safe for me? None of those questions no longer matter because I have now found a space that welcomes me, accommodates me, thinks about me, and gives me the dignity and the independence that I deserve going into the experience. So I think that's back to you, Jay.
All right, all right. Thank you, Chanel.
Mhm.
This is very insightful. So I appreciate that. Stories like Chanel's remind us why we strive for innovation. And speaking of which, let's look ahead of how AI is shaping the current and future accessibility and exploration at Discover Live, especially since 4 years ago, AI is such a big topic all over the world. 2 years ago, Discover Life developed a proprietary AI travel companion called Adora. So Adora is mainly participating in our tours for the sighted audience at this moment. And Adora is to personalize every participant's travel experience in group settings. So just like traditional travel, Discover Live offers both private tour options and group tour options. And the number of our group tour attendees can easily reach several hundred people. So sometimes it's really big, group tours. So in those group tour settings, most people are actually more shy to speak up, right? In a big group, and everybody's hesitant to talk. But this is really, affecting them to really fully enjoy their travel experience. So allowing each of the tour attendees to be able to have a more personalized travel experience and to be able to interact with a travel expert is critical for us. And this is where Adora comes in. So every time when you join a uh, live virtual tour for the sighted audience, as soon as you join the tour, Adora will be the very first one to greet you. For example, Dylan, hey, welcome to Santorini, Greece. Is this your first time being here, or you have been here before? And then you answer back to Adora, and then Adora will be asking you, during today's tour, what are the top three things that you really want to get out of it? What are your interests are? So depend on your interest, your response back to Adora. Adora will carry on the conversation with you throughout the tour. Literally, it makes you feel that you have a very good friend in this big group tour setting standing right next to you. And happen to be this friend is one of the best travel experts out there. So you can get any information from this person. So Adora adapts the tour guide content. It helps us to manage the complexity, learns the individual's interest, and enhances engagement by providing the supplementary information about the destination tailored specifically to the individual interest and their travel passion. Nowadays, Adora can also interact with audiences in more than 30 languages. If you ask people about why you don't travel, one of the reasons, aside from financial health reasons, the time reason, all those, is just because they're so afraid of going to a place that they don't know anything about the culture and language. In our live virtual tour, you can interact with Adora in the native language they speak, even if English is not your first one. So this technology has helped us to create a much more inclusive group experiences while maintaining the social aspects of shared exploration. Adora, as it's right now, is in its current version of 1.5. And it's already, significantly enhanced our virtual travel experience for the sighted audience. But the version 2 that is coming up is even more exciting because it will help enhancing the audio described tours for blind and low vision audiences. So in our next generation, when Adora turns 3 years old, She will not only provide hyper-personalized descriptions for the audio describer tours, but also she will be able to engage in the audio conversations with the blind and low vision audience. Right now, the Adora 1.5, is interacting with the sighted audiences through chat. In the version 2, Adora will be able to talk and hear the audience. They will be able to engage in the audio conversations. And most importantly, the next version of Adora will also provide us another level of training and a qualification for all of our guides. One thing I do want to stress is that, as much as we want to talk about AI, and the AI is very, very important, not only already in our life today, but also in the future, we don't think AI will replace human guides. And we believe the AI will augment their capabilities and the freedom to focus on what's the most important, which is to create this emotional connections and cultural insights. So at Discover Live, we believe AI plus human is the way in the future to create the ultimate live virtual travel experience. Now, we're talking about AI. I know, it's a fun topic. We can talk forever about it, but we are at XR access, right? So let's peek into the future. What will truly accessible XR tours look like at Discover Live? And I want to give you some of the ideas that we have. So when XR technology becomes truly accessible, Discover Live is really ready to lead because we were from that area, right? So we have the infrastructure set in place. The recent spatial audio technology and haptic integration and AI-driven accessibility systems are showing big promises. Nowadays it's so much better than 8 years ago. Our biggest advantage at Discover Live include a wide coverage of destinations. We have a pools of hundreds of trained global guides that are tech savvy. That is very important. We have the community trust, and then we have a scalable technical platform. So imagine a live VR tour with precise audio coming from all the directions. The haptic feedback on whatever our tour guide touches, right? No matter if it's like a 500-year-old castle wall in Ireland or the warm water in the Mediterranean Sea. Together with AI-driven personalized description and a vivid social presence with thousands of virtual travelers around each of the individuals, but all powered by our expert tour guides. Last year, a neuroscientist was trying to pull a team together to tackle the simulation of smell and taste in a virtual environment. Compared to the vibration and the pressure generated haptic feedback that, very common today, we know this is still a long way to go, but I won't be surprised in another 10, 15 years, Discover Live tours will let people to get a sense of taste and the smell when we bring like 1,500 people to visit a holiday market in Seville, Spain in real time. So as technology advances, we see our foundation of content, guide expertise, destination coverage, innovation, and our deep understanding of the market will really position us to lead the way in the live virtual travel space. There is a saying, I'm sure a lot of people have heard about this. Life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all. So at Discover Live, we're not just creating accessible travel, we're ensuring adventure, wonder, and discovery remains universal human experiences. Now I want to get back to our mission again. Our mission remains very simple, to make the world exploration accessible to all. So people are happier, smarter, healthier, and kinder towards each other. I want to thank you all for joining me and Chanel on this journey through Discover Life's innovation in accessible tourism and our vision for the future of AI and XR accessibility. And we know this vision, cannot be realized without the incredible work of organizations like XR Access and all of you. So thank you for all what you do in this space as well. So at this moment, I'm just gonna be opening up to any questions, thoughts, ideas from all of you guys.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jason. Thanks so much, Chanel. Yeah, I definitely have some questions because I think we are seeing a lot of people in the VR community, I think, trying to figure out how do we make these virtual spaces as accessible to our users as you guys are making these real life places, right? Um, and so I think the first question I have, and I encourage people in the audience to either put some questions into chat or into the Q&A feature. But I would love to know what you would suggest for designers and developers that want to make their audio descriptions better. I know you mentioned before things like vivid language, strategic pacing, contextual layering, emotional tone. But could you just dive into that a little more? And if somebody wanted to create an audio description for a virtual space, like what would you suggest as the best practices?
Yeah, I think Chanel, please feel free to chime in as well. I think you're more,
Mhm.
I have more thought in this area, but I just want to very quickly to put in my point in here. I think the different technologies and the different usages are very different. The most important thing is, get the community feedback, because during our development of our tours, from the first version of our tour until the tours that we offer today, I cannot believe I cannot tell how much learning we actually received from the actual users instead of all the information that we got from the training menus that we have collected from the internet. So I think that's like it's just the one very very important things about us. I mean, even when we're talking about the other senses, and all those things are not talked in any of the menus of audio description. But when we were creating our tours, and those are the suggestions that we actually get feedback from the communities, and we were able to add those into our tour offering as well. So Chanel, anything? I'm sure you have like points to add in here as well.
Absolutely. So I think that's a great question. I think the biggest piece of advice beyond always, always, always nothing for us without us. Okay, so that means if you're making something for me, talk to me. Um, with that in mind, I would also say when you're thinking about description, always think about all five of your senses. People who are sighted naturally lean more toward visual description. And that's probably because that's the main sense you use to understand what's around you. But for someone who's low vision, we really, really connect with sounds, smells, tastes. And it's not just the sounds and smells and tastes you might think of, but for example, the crunching of the gravel on the ground versus the dusty, kind of poofy sound when I'm walking on dry dirt, loose dry dirt rather. Those things matter to me. So, for example, I like to play Animal Crossing. And everyone goes, but wait, you're totally blind. How are you playing Animal Crossing? And one of the reasons that Animal Crossing has done so well for me is that everything, well, I'd say 98% of everything in there has its own unique sound. So from walking on the grass to walking on the sand, when the seasons change to snow versus summer, I can tell everything just by what sound I'm making as I move through each space. And that makes a difference when you're thinking about audio description and you're thinking about soundscaping. What what information is it really feeding me? Are you creating information for information's sake, or does it actually have value? Those are the questions you should ask. And I would also say that when you are thinking about community to engage, get a wide variety of low vision people, not just people who are specifically blind or specifically low vision, but you want people who were born low vision and people who came into low vision later in life, because you'll find you get very different reactions from all of those different groups of people. I think Jay experienced this himself when we were learning about how to describe color. Someone who is low vision from birth, who's been blind from birth, will probably say that orange isn't good enough of a description for a pumpkin. Whereas someone who has had vision before, who has context and understands what that orange could look like, the variations of it, may ask, is it a dark orange or is it a light orange? They want the more in-depth description. So it's good to kind of figure out the wider options and try to find the middle ground for it. That would be my recommendation.
Awesome. And then I think last question here would just be, we talked about how you guys shifted from VR to Zoom just because of all of those challenges with VR. I would ask, what are some of the key things that you would be looking for that would make you think, man, maybe it's worth it to try doing VR again? Like, what are those key touchstones of if it had X, Y, and Z, maybe it's accessible for enough us to kind of take another whack at it.
Yeah, so we never left VR. We decided to put it on hold, but we're very involved in the VR development communities and the technologies and everything because we know VR will come, at some point in the future, then we want to be ready for that. But specifically, if you would ask, what is the trigger point for us to start to introduce a VR, I think it's the accessibility of it, no matter from the technology or from the cost standpoint. When the Vision Pro came out, when I first heard about it, I was thinking like, oh wow, it's so nice, and I hope that it's gonna be a vision, a version that is better than some of the other goggles in the market that is actually more accessible from the cost standpoint, and it was not. So it's still a something for to in order to realize our mission, which is to make this experience as accessible to as many people as possible. And we work with a big variety of people. So the cost is going to be a big thing for us. Another thing is, from the VR, it's not necessarily related to VR, but it's more related to the internet coverage in general. If we are to provide a live on the street experience using VR, the data consumption is so big that currently even the current, the consumer technology is not there to support this yet.
Gotcha. And in terms of the like specific accessibility features, just think, yeah, cost and internet coverage are very good points. Um, are you thinking screen reader accessibility? Are you thinking kind of like haptics integration? What are those technological features that would be of most importance to you?
I think
For
the screen.
me, oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Well, Chanel, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was like, for me, as someone who would actually have to be the one using it, um, we definitely need the screen reader. That's without a doubt, because what good is it going to do me if you hand me a device I cannot independently get into the tour on my own? Because that's the whole purpose of this, is that I can, without anyone else being around me, decide to go on this tour and go on an adventure and explore the world. And so that has to be a case. I have to be able to get into my tour without any assistance. So that's if that's a screen reader, if that's I don't I don't honestly know because I've never actually been able to use a virtual reality thing because it's never been accessible to me. So I don't even fully understand the experience if I'm being honest. But I will tell you that for me that's a big part of it is just the access. I would also say haptic feedback is nice, but in all honesty, some of us get really tired of being buzzed. Um, it would be so nice if you guys could figure out something else, some other way to give us, or at least another layer, something beyond just buzzing us for everything. Do you know how numb I get by the end of a day with everything buzzing me? Um,
Are you thinking in
so
terms of a different type of haptic feedback?
yes. So, I don't know if it's, maybe something rattles, if something moves. I have no idea what that could look like. You guys are the innovators on that one. But I'm just saying, if you guys could find something beyond buzzing us, we would love it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, really, from our standpoint, it's like we don't have to wait for everything to be perfect before do something, And I think some of the necessities that especially on the audio described tour experiences, those need to be figured out first before we want to invest a lot of resources on those. It's just not ready yet.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally understand. I think we've been starting to see some of these, like screen readers. I think the Vision Pro has iOS style screen reader. The Meta just, I think, as an experimental feature, has been teasing out screen readers for the Quest. But it's definitely, I would not walk up to somebody who's blind low vision and hand them a headset and say, "You'll be able to get this," without some guidance. But hopefully someday soon. But I
So,
think with that, we're out of time. Thank you, Jason and Shell, both so much for coming today. This will be posted to our YouTube sometime soon. And if anybody has questions for Jane and Chanel, we've put their info in the chat. It's on screen here. You can email Jay at jw@discover.live. And I think with that, we'll end it for today. Thanks so much for coming, all.
yeah, thank
No,
you
thank
again
you
for
so
having us.
much.
Yeah, I mean, really at Discover Live, we believe in the future, the curiosity, not the capability, determines how far we go, right? So I look forward to continuing
Absolutely.
the conversation with everybody beyond today's session.
Absolutely. Thanks, all.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thanks, everyone. Bye, everyone.